Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of AWS Show and Tell. I'm Anil Lanamiti. I'm your host joining today from New Jersey. And we have guests joining us from the Bedrock AgentCore Gateway team. Uh, and we'll probably go through some introductions and chat about a topic about fine-grained access controls. Right. So maybe let's do the introductions here. Dhaval, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you very much. I'm super excited joining again. Thanks for having me back on this show. And my name is Dhaval Patel, and I'm a global lead of specialist solution architects focused on generative AI. And over to you, Avinash.
Hello all, I am Avinash Koluri. I'm a senior solutions architect with AWS, precisely working with Amazon and its subsidiaries, supporting on their AWS journey. Over to you, Ozan.
Hey everyone, my name is Ozan and I am working as the Senior Software Development Engineer at Amazon, and I'm from Boston and working on the internal products in AWS.
Thanks, Ozan. So I know you're joining from Boston. Dhaval, what about you?
Oh,
Where are
well,
you?
I'm from San Francisco. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice,
Okay.
nice and sunny weather. Oh my God, I'm loving
I can
it.
already see that background there, and we have dark
Just
backgrounds.
shut it
Yeah,
down, like for like
nice.
otherwise people are gonna watch me my background than me. So
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense, right? So, Avinash, how about you? Where are you joining us?
Well, just double counted it, but I am from Seattle. I'm all in the gloomy weather now.
Oh,
all
wow.
rainy, man, all rainy.
Yeah.
Well, we have folks joining from everywhere. Folks, like generally when we see our channel here when we live stream, we have folks joining today from UK, from Canada. Also, let us know in the chat, folks, where you are joining from, because uh, we have folks from New Zealand, like UK, like India, everywhere, right? So, but this is an episode that we're streaming before reInvent.
Yeah.
So reInvent is next week, right? So are you folks excited to join reInvent, right? So a lot of announcements that'll be out there.
Oh, it's gonna be exciting. Yeah.
So much great things will come.
So many things, right? It's all about AI. The AI buzz is already on. So
Yeah.
we'll be at reInvent and distributing some. So I don't know if you can see this, but some stickers, the
Oh, that's
Oh,
show and tell
those
stickers.
are super
So
cool.
we'll be in the AWS launch, developer launch, distributing out these stickers. So if you're around, come and join us to grab some of those stickers, right? So
cool.
yeah,
Nice.
excellent. So today's topic is about Agent Core Gateway, and Dhaval in his intro mentioned that he's back again, right? So Dhaval did another episode in the past, diving deep into Agent Core Gateway, and I'll put a link to that session in the chat. But before we go into much detail, Dhaval, so do you want to give our viewers a quick background of what Agent Core Gateway is, so that we have some intro into that episode?
Yeah, sure. So you have these AI agents, right? All these AI agents, agentic AI. By the way, like how many of you, like from the audience, like how many of you are building AI agents?
Yeah,
I guess
let us know.
everyone.
Everybody, right? So that's
Everybody,
the AI
right?
agents are the theme for the year or the
Yeah, right.
decade.
Like everybody's like transforming their customer experience using AI agents. Everybody's talking about agents, agentic AI, building AI agents and stuff like that. So yeah, like folks, like yeah, see, look at that. Like we're already getting some responses. Like, yep. Yeah, everybody's is on that journey of developing agentic applications, agents. So you have these many agents, and then these agents needs real data, right? Your data, right? And
Hmm.
otherwise, like these agents cannot do their job. They cannot answer the user questions factually, and they might hallucinate. So in order for these agents to kind of integrate with your private data stores or private APIs or any of uh, the systems that you want these agents to connect to in order to answer these user questions, you need tools,
Hmm.
right? By the way, who are using MCP tools, by the way?
Oh, that's an
Uh,
interesting one, right?
who is
Because
not?
Who's
yeah,
not? Who's not? Yeah,
maybe
sure.
that's the one, right? So who's not using entry tools?
Who is not using MCP tools?
Yeah.
Let's see
Uh,
the comments. Like, folks, feel free to add comments or write comments. Okay, well, let's see how they respond. But the model context protocol is the very well known protocol for standardizing the agent to tool interactions and kind of interoperability as well. Like they allow this protocol allows you to build agentic systems in an interoperable manner when it comes to agent to tool interactions. And so there's a whole lot of heavy lifting as a developer that you have to do. First of all, you have to build containers for MCP servers. You have to build those MCP servers. Then you have to expose your enterprise APIs into MCP tool. There's a lot of protocol heavy lifting that you have to do. Then you have to host these containers somewhere like Kubernetes, right? Or EC2 or EKS, right? And then you have to handle this auto scaling. And then you have to do the semantic search. And then you have to scale. And then if you have more and more teams like onboarded, like developing these awesome MCP tools for your agents. Like now you have to control access and do fine-grained access control, authorization, integration with observability. A lot of heavy lifting comes on your way while you can focus on developing business features.
And these are all required before you go to production, right? I mean, it's cool to have like a working prototype and POC, but authentication, authorization, fine-grained controls are a must-have before you put things in production. You don't want your services to be publicly available, but definitely available publicly with authorization in place, right? Authentication, authorization, right? So quite an important aspect to this.
Very, very important for POC to production. And then think about the operational excellence, right? Like you have to make sure your infrastructure is resilient. Your infrastructure does not have single point of failure. And then on top of that, these protocols are changing, right? These MCP protocols are changing. They are bringing new and new protocol specifications. There are new versions being rolled out. I'm expecting one of the new versions to be rolled out tomorrow, by the way, just FYI. So you have to keep up with this protocol specification changes. And then you have to upgrade these MCP servers. I was like, oops, there was a change in the protocol. Let me upgrade it again. So that kind of like becomes a lot of heavy lift for you. Rather, you could focus on developing the business features. That's exactly why we built AgentCore Gateway. So if I can have a quick slide on the AgentCore Gateway, like what that is, there you go. Thank you. So we built AgentCore Gateway exactly with this vision that our developers, our customers do not need to worry about all this heavy lifting that we just shared. All the protocol specification, handling, handshake, protocol translation, tools creation from your existing APIs, and semantic search, and tools filtering, and fine-grained access control, which we are going to talk about in this session specifically. And then kind of like out-of-the-box integration with the authorization, working with your own IDPs, integration with your observability, like CloudWatch integration, and security, it comes out of the box. That's
So
exactly what
minimal effort to be able to bring your agentic application to production.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and and the more broader picture is like it's not just only tools, right? Your agents also needs to talk other sub agents or specialized agents, right? And there are customers who I'm hearing from, like, because I work globally with almost all customers in a different industry verticals, including healthcare, finance, like security operations, observability space, ISVs, right, who are developing agents as tools. Like these customers are saying like, hey, we already have invested in MCP infrastructure or MCP tools. I just want to have my agent talk to another agent using a simple agent as a tool design pattern, which is effective design pattern as well. So this is also useful for that. So our vision is like, you need a single unification point for all of your tools in your enterprise for your agents to talk to, and then you can have the governance and security built into this AgentCore Gateway. Now, the problem with as you grow the number of tools, right, from 10s to 50s. By the way, who has more than 10 MCP tools? Who has
MCP
more
servers,
than
10 MCP servers.
Sure,
Right.
10
Yeah,
MCP servers or 10 MCP tools. Like Who has more than 10 MCP tools?
My MCP server, I mean, my IDE keeps complaining that I have more than 200 tools showing up, and it wants
200?
me
Oh my
to
God. Yeah.
because all these servers have dozens of tools, and they all are surfacing, to the IDE, right?
Whoa.
How do we
Do we
filter
have
that?
anybody from the audience who has like more than 10 MCP tools? Like, I don't know, like if more than 10 MCP tools. Okay, with you don't need servers. Oh, you don't need servers. Sure, yeah, but I'm talking about MCP tools, by the way. Like, sure, you can have servers, or you may not need servers, or you may not need to host the servers, but at least the tools, right? Like an agent needs tools. Like I've heard like customers like, hey, I have tens of tools to like sometimes like if they're developing an agentic AI platform where they're standardizing their single point of communication for all of their agents to tools using some kind of an MCP gateway. That's exactly what AgentCore Gateway is. And then as and when the number of, there you go, like 40 to 50, there you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So as and when you grow the number of tools from tens to 50s to hundreds to even thousands, right? As your enterprise grows, as more and more customers or internal teams onboard to your MCP gateway, right? Now you're challenged with few things. The first thing you're challenged with is like there are different types of personas. So if I can get to the next slide, that probably gives a better idea. So now you have different types of personas of the users using their AI agents. Let me take an example now. The example is like, let's say you are building a customer support agent for retail, right? That helps the users to shop or like ask questions about their orders or items or just give out a personalized recommendations based on the user's preferences or past history historical order process. Like just imagine you have a customer support agent doing this job. Now there could be different type of users using these customer support agent. Either it could be an external customer like you and me, like using trying to kind of browse through I'm trying to kind of get to the right product based on my interests,
Hmm.
right? Or it could be a call center representative who could be also be using the same agent, but just with the higher privileges, right? So the privileges that I, as a regular user, has may be restricted. Like for example, I may not be able to issue as a regular user a promotional discount on certain products or orders, while the call center representative might be able to, right? So now you have these different types of personas who's using the same AI agents, and now you need to build that fine-grained access control mechanism within your agent to tool interactions to say like, oh, this user or this persona of the user is not allowed to issue a promotional discount, while a rep, call center rep, can or may issue a promotional discount. So hence, this user should have access to the promotional discount tool. Right. So
Right.
now and that has to be done like dynamically, right? Like you can't just set statically, like just based on the user ID, for example. Like because the user ID, the users may have more permissions, they may change, the permissions may change. So you have to kind of make it dynamically like changeable as well, right?
Yeah,
That's yeah.
yeah, if you were to actually build this without these access controls, it means that you're probably deploying tens of applications of the same application, like maybe the same search server, but somebody having these privileges, somebody having advanced, like more privileges, right? So but that's where the gateway is coming in, and you're saying that the fine-grained access controls will be able to implement those guardrails. Is that what it is,
Yeah,
Dhaval?
Exactly.
that's exactly. Hey, by the way, I see Nitin Wag. Nitin, very nice to meet you. Like long time, man. So Nitin, I think you're a CEO, right, of Karini AI. So he also worked with me at AWS. So very
Nice,
nice to meet you.
nice. Good, good.
So yeah, Nitin, like I mean both MCP servers as well as MCP tools. Um, whatever, like whichever approach you have. But essentially what I'm talking about is like you have these hundreds of tools which needs to be access control based on the user, not just the agent accessing the tools, but also you need to consider the user who is accessing the agent, and that combination of agent and user kind of, then you need to control the access, like, oops, this is the user, no, they shouldn't be having access to this privileged tools, while others should have, or only selected few should have access to.
Also, I think it should be consolidated and centralized. Yeah, like you can't just scatter that across the tools, and you can't offload that to the tools to do those checks or do those things.
Yeah.
And I think this is the one of the value, that we are bringing. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's exactly like. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Anil.
Anil already pointed out, but something that we sort of seeing in live scenarios with many other customers as well too is everybody tries to develop their own set of tools or applications just for this access management, and they have to also do a sort of heavy lifting on make this more transitive. For example, you have a tool one, then you have to develop a certain set of controls for that, and then the tool two, and this goes on, right? You need to explicitly manage all of these permissions, and you have to build different set of systems.
You can scale with that model also, right?
Exactly.
And Ross is giving in some comment, including some comments that this is goal for people studying for the new AI Developer Pro cert. That is still in beta, that's out there, right? And I also see comments from Balalatro saying skibidi, of course, right? So
skibidi. Okay. Well,
right.
Well, so yeah, I mean, like that's exactly the reason why we launched Gateway Interceptors as part of the AgentCore Gateway. So those customers who are centralizing and unifying all of their MCP servers / MCP tools as an enterprise MCP gateway, as they build more guardrails and governance within it to make these workloads secure. And by the way, don't forget, these AI agents are non-deterministic. They are autonomous. And sometimes they can go rogue. I'm just being modest by saying sometimes, right? Because security is job zero. You have to make sure that with this agentic AI, the agents, since they are non-deterministic, they don't do things that you don't intend to do for them to do, right? Like, so you need to make sure that these AI agents have access to the right set of tools, not just statically assigned to them, but also keeps on like dynamically changing based on the users who are accessing this agents. So we are talking about like take the user context into consideration when a user calls an agent, and then based on the agent's identity and the user context, have a guardrail control using fine-grained access control to restrict the access or provide the right access to the right set of tools. And that's exactly why we developed Gateway Interceptors feature, which we released a couple of days ago in GA. And what it gives is an ability to perform additional functionality and ability for our customers, not just fine-grained access control, but also think about like when you have these downstream APIs talking in a specific schema, and you have this MCP JSON RPC schema exposed to your agents. Now things can change, right? The downstream APIs can change their schema, and you want to build a decoupled system, right? Like one of the principles for a scalable architecture is you have to build a decoupled architecture so that you can easily change the downstream systems while your agents can keep on working as and solve the user queries, right? So schema translation, right? That's a very important factor for building decoupled, loosely coupled systems in agentic AI. You can do that with Gateway Interceptors now. And then the other thing I am hearing from our customers who are in the ISV customers, like these ISV customers are building multi-tenant agents as service. They are building tools as service. They are exposing these MCP servers or MCP tools as a service, and in order to do that, you need to have multi-tenancy embedded, right? And when you talk about multi-tenancy, tenant isolation is the most critical factor, right? And how do you do that? Again, the fine-grained access controller. You gotta have a concept of tenant ID. You gotta have a concept, like you need to also now like restrict the access or provide the access based on which tenant is accessing your agent or tool. Sometimes in a regulated industry like healthcare or finance sector, right, there are cases where there may be an SPI or PII or PHI data that might be coming from the downstream systems, and you don't want your AI agents to access them, or you want to be very particular if they need to have access to them, and that's where data sanitization comes into play. Right? All of these use cases are unblocked now with the introduction of Gateway Interceptors. So let's go. I don't know if there's an interesting comment, but you tell me, Anil, if there's an interesting comment. But I'm just gonna go on unless you folks interrupt me and or the audience has a question. Yeah.
Least privileges is something that is definitely a takeaway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we have all these features that are possible with the gateway interceptors, but today's session is focusing on the fine-grained access controls,
Yeah.
right? And also like maybe the custom header propagation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah. So let me give you just a quick overview of how gateway interceptors work internally, and then we are going to dive deeper into the code. We're going to show you how do we implement fine-grained access control using gateway interceptors. So here's a quick overview of how it works. So you have this AgentCore Gateway, and then you have these awesome like logical grouping of the downstream systems, logically grouped in terms of in a form of target, right? So you can convert your existing open APIs into MCP tools, which is shown as an open API target. And then you can also have your AWS Lambda function and expose this as an MCP tool using a Lambda target. Or you can also bring your existing MCP servers hosted in EKS or Kubernetes or wherever it is, right? Like, don't care, like it's cloud agnostic, right? Wherever you're hosting these MCP servers, you can unify these MCP servers, single unification point on AgentCore Gateway, right? So all of these targets, right? When you unify them, now you have these hundreds and thousands of tools now sitting in that one big unified gateway. And on the other end, you have these users and agents accessing this single unified gateway for or like in form of MCP. So what we are introducing is a concept called as gateway interceptors, which are ultimately like AWS Lambda functions. These interceptors intercept, literally like it's an interceptor, like intercepts all the requests and responses coming into the AgentCore gateway or going out as a response from the AgentCore gateway. Now, these Lambda interceptors serves as the point where you can enforce tenant isolation, you can enforce fine-grained access control, you can enforce data sanitization, you can even have custom header propagation. And we're going to talk about like what type of use cases will be unlocked with custom header propagation. But essentially what you can do is now configure your gateway with either a request interceptor, which intercepts all the requests coming into the gateway and will give you access to the headers as well as the body. So let's say you're receiving a JWT token. Let's say you're receiving any kind of credentials in the form of the token, OAuth token. We'll make this header available in your Lambda function so that you can read them, you can read the body, you can read the headers, you can process it, you can decode it, you can know who is calling the tool. You can also have custom scopes in it. You can have your tenant ID in it. And then you can do all the great stuff like, hey, like I want to restrict this user and to have only access to 3 tools out of 100 tools, for example, right? So you can enforce that. And then you can direct the gateway, like whether to go ahead with the call if the user doesn't have access. So allow and deny based on that. The same thing happens once the target is invoked. Once it gives back the response from the target, be it an open API or AWS Lambda or MCP server, now you want to sanitize the response. You might want to redact the SPI, PI, PHI data from the response before you send it to the agent. And that's where response interceptor comes into the play. Now, you can have these altogether different Lambda functions, or you can have these two, like with this, you can have these two things, based on just single Lambda, AWS Lambda function, right?
And also this decouples all from the client who is calling the gateway, and also the targets as well. Targets don't need to know anything about. They just plug their use cases onto the central mechanism, and central mechanism takes care all the heavy lifting work, and the targets can just focus on the business. That's the ultimate beauty, and you can just scale. You can bring tens of different tools, all just focus on the building tools, and neither client nor the target side knows any of all those details that I'll mention, because you consolidate all in Gateway.
Yeah. So then, Avinash, do you want to show the code like for the fine-grained access control? Let's just see the code, right? So
we have a question coming in from Ajay 225. Is it not just like API gateway?
Is it not just like an API gateway? Well, it is. So API gateway does a lot of things, can talk a lot of protocols like RESTful APIs or WebSockets, or I'm just saying in general, not specifically about Amazon API gateway, by the way, right? So generally, API gateways are good for general application workload unification point for all of the APIs for the general application workloads, right? And then you have this AgentCore Gateway, which is specifically a purpose-built AI gateway for exposing MCP tools to your agents. So the difference is the AgentCore Gateway is different from an API gateway because it can talk MCP protocol, number one. The regular API gateways may not talk MCP protocol, number one. Number two, the AgentCore Gateway has a lot of purpose-built AI-specific features like semantic search. The regular API gateway will not have that, or possibly may not have it, right? Semantic search, tools filtering, right, for example. But yes, I do agree that the API gateways also have a feature called as interceptors or custom authorizers or something to like intercept the request. Yes, in that perspective, yes, I think we are giving you that ability with an MCP protocol translation embedded with the AgentCore Gateway. By the way, they are both complementary to each other, by the way. They're not like either or, like either you use API Gateway or AgentCore Gateway. No, like they both like together gives you the best experience.
I want to add one thing. Also, the gateway works very nicely with the AgentCore's other products like identity and all. And that gives us a lot of advantage that you will just live in the agentic world with all the building blocks provided by the AgentCore.
That's a good point, Ozan. So I put a link in the chat, for to the deep dive episode where we discussed about gateway and how it integrates with AgentCore identity and all of those, good things out there. So that way you can bring your agentic applications and take those building blocks and put all the controls and make them as MCP servers and expose it via gateway. Right, so take a look at that.
Just building on top of what Dhaval earlier mentioned, this is a purpose-built service. So if you're really looking forward for a lot of agentic AI applications and where you would have to invest more on multi-agents and multi-tenants, that's where I would say definitely go for Gateway.
Yeah. All right. So
Sorry,
Avinash,
AgentCore Gateway. Yeah, I'll
let's
share my
let's see the code.
screen. You, yeah.
And wait to see the demo as well, right? So
Yeah. Let's see the demo.
Yep. Anil, can you confirm if you're able to see my notebook here?
yep, we can see your.
Perfect. Thanks again. All right. We just got to know about AgentCore Gateway and some of its capabilities. But for this particular example, the focus area is fine-grained access control. And for today, what we will be doing within this experiment or within this notebook is we have a shopping agent. So coin this in terms of like a retail experience on an e-commerce website where agent can actually go ahead and do shopping and can check on the catalogs of it. But if it is an agent or if it is a user elsewhere and all, if they would have to check out, they definitely need access or a login, right? So we are going to cover these two scenarios. So apparently, like having a permissions based for a catalog system and having a permissions defined for checkout system.
So as you're bringing this up, Avinash, I just want to let our viewers know that the code, the link to this sample code is in the description of the video. So please go to the description and you can find it. I'll also put a link in the chat.
Yeah, thanks for that, Anil. All right. So this is a typical flow. I know we have already addressed on the flow, but I'll just give a quick walkthrough of it. A user logs in and through an AgentCore Gateway, he tries to get the list of tools. All that we are doing today is just the list of tools. And the moment we get the response is handed over to the AgentCore Gateway. And within the AgentCore Gateway, the new functionality that we were using over here is the interceptor, which is basically the response interceptor. But we wanted to make sure that we are assigning these tools and segregating the permissions in a separate system. So for my sake, on this example today, I'm using DynamoDB, where I'm actually doing the tool mappings. So what does my DynamoDB table do have? Basically a tool and the mapping of certain permissions.
Excuse me, sorry. So before we go into DynamoDB, like just want to set the stage right. So what you're doing, Avinash, is there are two methods in MCP. One is ListTools to discover the tools, right? What the MCP server has got, so that agent can discover like, oh, I have these many tools to access. Once you discover these tools, then you're going to call the right tool based on the user query, right? So this
Exactly.
ListTools is the first method most of the agents call in order to discover the tools. Now, by the way, hey, like ListTools can become really bulky. So the best practice is, by the way, like use semantic search tool that AgentCore Gateway provides you, right? Don't like if it is not needed, don't use ListTools. But this is just for an example's sake, right? Like ListTools is an protocol compliant method that we have to support. But anyhow, I think what Avinash you're saying is, let's say you have a regular user accessing shopping agent, and that agent on behalf of the regular user tries to fire ListTools up against the MCP gateway. You want to intercept that request and only respond with a restrictive set of tools because it's a regular user accessing it. Versus if a privileged user calls ListTools, you want to respond with maybe more number of tools because it's a privileged user. Is that right?
Yeah, that custom logic, what you have just defined, Tawal, like privileged user and the restricted user, I want a separate system where I can go ahead and control.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we have a DynamoDB here as a data store. It could be anything. In fact, the purpose for here is we are just using DynamoDB, but in fact, it could be anything where you could quickly do a user to tool mapping.
Sure.
For example, Dhaval might have access to one set of tools and Avinash might have access to another set of tools, but I want that to be controlled explicitly out of all the systems here.
Yeah.
All right. So what does my request, my interceptor does is it goes to the DynamoDB at the same time and checks whether, whether this particular agent does have the permissions or not. If does, then yes, it will show, yes, you have the permission and here is the tools. Otherwise, not. So to get to start this, I'm pretty sure Anil earlier mentioned about the Gateway AgentCore Gateway and how to get started on that. I'll not go more about on the gateway side of the house, but this example, we are focusing on the interceptor. So first, you need an interceptor, a Lambda interceptor, to be deployed before even creating the gateway. So in my code, let me quickly show you where we were doing this.
And we have all the cognitive items and all of that will be set up so that the users are present, the authorization, the integration is present, done with the.
Yeah, yes, you brought a great point, Anil. In fact, we are using Cognito within the scope here, and we are mapping it. We are mapping a client ID, and we're using JWT here. So the client ID is nothing but technically an application ID. So if I need to give access to a certain tool, coin it as an application for now. I'm just saving it as a client ID.
Okay.
All right. So here is my interceptor function that I'm actually deploying. But if you want to take a look at what is that interceptor is about, let me go to this Lambda function here.
Oh, by the way, there's a great comment from Ross.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Ross brings great points, by the way. Love it.
Sorry, I'm not. I'm on the screen. Can somebody read out that for me, please?
So Ross says tool search first. No need to load them all.
I agree. I agree to.
Oh,
that is the motto. We can even use
Yeah. So we do have an example for that as well. You're right, Ross. Like use semantic search first. This is just to show you an example. Like anything is possible. You can intercept list tools, you can intercept search tools, or you can intercept even the call tools. So just a sample example. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, here is my Lambda, which is basically the interceptor. And all that we were trying to do is within the body, we are trying to get the list of tools here. And the authorization is always about the JWT token. So this is a typical format that you have to use in case if you are deploying a response interceptor Lambda. So once this Lambda is created, you need to go ahead and deploy that Lambda first before even getting to the state of gateway creation. So here, all that I'm doing is I have this Lambda function, and then I'm actually deploying this Lambda. Yeah, the Lambda already exists, and the permissions were there. We created the role for it. And then I'm actually moving forward to the create gateway with response interceptor. And what we were trying to do here is we are going to get the JWT validation and aggregate on the tools, then do a DynamoDB lookup.
Yeah.
Right. So here is my gateway. All that I do is create AgentCore Gateway just by giving the gateway name and the role here.
This is not create. Oh, by the way, this is creating the role. So if you scroll down, there's a create gateway. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I'm going there. Yeah, here I need an IAM role initially for that. And then here I'm actually creating the gateway with a protocol type as MCP. And this is how the gateway gets created.
Yeah, and then if you want to show the response interceptor, if you go scroll down a little bit, there's an interceptor configuration. This is exactly what we have. Just if you can highlight that portion, interceptor configuration, just highlight that. There you go. This is the new feature, folks. This is it. This is the new feature. Now you can configure interceptors, request interceptor, as well as response interceptor, right? And if note that interception points is response. That means this Lambda function is going to intercept all the responses from the downstream invocations before returning the final response to the MCP clients.
It's basically the response that the gateway received. And we'll have to make sure that you capture response, and the other one is the request. But for our context here, we are using the response.
Yeah, and then please note that there's a very important pass request headers. If you scroll up, pass request headers to true, that is extremely important. No, just pass request headers equals to true. If you go down, just
looks like I just hit a roadblock. I got an exception, which I might have to go ahead and do it because we reran this. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So it's just pass request headers is the attribute that you can configure as well. And that is going to allow you to make the request headers available in your Lambda. So just make sure that you set this pass request headers equals to true for the request interceptor. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have some prerequisites that I have to actually rerun once again.
You don't need to do it. Just go through the code. That's fine.
All
Things
right,
do all the
sure.
time.
Yeah, and one of the best practices is to make sure that your gateway is ready. Without that, don't do these things. So over here, all that I'm doing is just checking whether my gateway is ready or not. Okay, and then we basically register the tools, like all the MCP targets that you wanted to do it. We are actually registering them as a tools here. And then the tools have to be deployed, and this is how you do that. I'm just highlighting this.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what is being done, folks, is we have provided, we are showing you the tools which are implemented by AWS Lambda Target. And so there are about 4 tools, right? How many tools do we have, Avinash?
I have 2 tools. One
Okay.
is checkout, one is catalog underscore get, and another one is checkout underscore post.
Okay, so checkout and get product catalog. So 2 tools. Yeah. Both the tools are implemented using AWS Lambda functions as a target. And what he's doing is he is then controlling the access to the tool based on the incoming user identity in the JWT token. So he's basically extracting the client ID or an agent ID, or you can also like extract the user identity from the incoming JWT token into the gateway, and then you kind of consult your DynamoDB for like, hey, what tools is this user identity allowed to access? Give me that. And then the DynamoDB is going to respond back and it's like, oh, by the way, this user should only have access to one tool, which is get product catalog. And that's exactly how he is restricting the access to the tools and implementing fine-grained access control.
Yeah, in fact, Dhaval, let me actually show the existing test part that we have it here. So I'm actually getting the cognitive details, which is basically the identity details and the secrets here. Okay. And then I'm passing that along and doing a quick test here. So if you look at this, the read-only access for this particular user that or the agent that we have, basically it retrieved 2 tools: catalog get target, checkout post target. The expected is this and the actual is this. What that does mean is this is a full access for this particular client ID. I have declared that within the DynamoDB for this client ID, for this tool mapping, and for this client ID, show all the tools. So all the available tools are shown for this response. So that's how we were doing it. But if we wanted to restrict the access, again, it goes fetches onto the DynamoDB, right? And then it does this. On the second example that we have, the testing client is just read only. And what here I'm doing is expected it should be only one, because based on my DynamoDB mappings that I've done, catalog get target, and what that particular agent gets is the catalog get target. In this way, you have n number of tools and you can put that fine-grained access control and start filtering out the things.
Yeah, that's and that this is happening dynamically, right? Like
exactly.
This is happening all dynamically, and there are different patterns in for implementing fine-grained access control. Like you can have clearly like thousands of tools in MCP Gateway here in AgentCore Gateway, and then you might literally have like thousands of users and thousands of different types of agents and roles of the users on the other end. And then you have this M cross N problem, like, hey, how do I maintain this mapping of which role has access to which tool? And that mapping you could easily store like in a DynamoDB or kind of decouple it from the JWT token. Or you could also choose to kind of map it in the JWT tokens claims, like custom claims, right? Like that's also not a bad idea. just be aware that there are pros and cons of both approaches. If you choose it on the JWT token, your JWT token has limits, right? If the number of tools grow and if the number of permutation combinations grow, your JWT token is going to get bloated, right? And you might hit the limit for the JWT token, and then it will cause performance issues and all these different types of issues, right? So just be like aware that there are pros and cons of both the approaches. Where do you store this tools permissions or access permissions of tools, which database? Sometimes I've seen customers like using registry, agent registry, right?
Mhm.
Maybe an agent registry is a centralized access policy store for you, or maybe here in this case DynamoDB is an access policy store for you.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add with the token as well, the token has also duration, which is in the meantime, if something changes on the access policy, it may not be reflected directly on the token itself. That's why I think DynamoDB is a kind of a direct lookup where you can just access to the as is.
And this all evolving, right? So yeah,
you spoke a great point, Ozan. In fact, that's the beauty of loosely coupled systems. Right. So
also,
here in the DynamoDB,
Avinash, one more question is here we have like a client ID, right? So normally like so we are creating different clients. One is a read-only client, one has admin access or full access.
Yes.
When it goes to users, or in this case agents having roles, right? So it's about making certain changes to the application to be able to use the JWT token and interpret that, and then providing access. In this example, it looks like we are using client ID to demonstrate it.
Exactly. We are using client ID.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dhawan.
So there are like from the architecture standpoint, security standpoint, like you may not choose to kind of use client ID as a unique identifier for all the agentic clients, right? Or roles, right? Like you may want to scale, and in order to scale, you might want to keep these client IDs or application client IDs in the IDP systems like same, but then you might want to use custom scopes, right? Like, hey, although the client ID is same, but here's an agent ID or here's a custom scope that I'm using to identify like what role this user has and what is the agent identity that is accessing my tools. Like based on both of the combination of both of these things, you can then implement this custom logic that Avinash is showing.
Yeah, so since it's a Lambda, you have the full control to tweak it and make it your own.
That is the beauty of the interceptors. Yeah, like all you can do the coding and then have full control over what is coming. Yep.
Yeah.
And guess what? You need not actually go ahead and build something as an external system just to intercept or decode this. It is safe and secure already within the gateway. Yeah. And that ties down to your boundaries.
Right? Yeah. So let's talk about that. Right. Let's talk about a very important thing that you touched upon, and then I want to go to Ozan. So there are like two approaches when it comes to security and when it comes to identity propagation in an agentic AI workload or like agentic AI workloads. In a typical microservices setup, like a microservice calling a microservice. So the microservice assumes a specific identity and then calls another microservice, and then the downstream microservice trusts blindly the upstream microservice, and then everything is great and everything is like everybody's happy and it's secure and all that, right? Like machine to machine. Like that's not the case with the agents because agents are autonomous, non-deterministic, and more essentially, these agents act based on the user, not independently, right? So now you have this problem of like, how do you ensure that the agent is, when an agent calls tools, how do you make sure the contextual information about the user is carried forward all the way to the downstream systems, and you implement this fine-grained access control in your downstream APIs as well, right? That's where act on behalf or delegation model comes into the play, where you're not passing the same incoming credentials or JOT tokens or OAuth tokens as is to the downstream system. That's a big no. Don't do that. It is prone to stolen credentials attack. It is prone to confused deputy problems. It is prone to so many other like privilege escalation type of attacks, right? So don't just treat your gateways or MCP servers as a pass-through systems, right? Issue another token with a narrowly scoped claims to just call that downstream tool. That's where the custom header propagation comes into the play, where customers have been asking like, hey, I need to access my downstream systems, but I need to do that securely. And that's where Ozan, I'm looking forward to your demo.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dawal. So let's talk about the request interceptor and how we use the request interceptor. What Dawal mentioned as kind of the token exchange, where you can't use the same token over and over. As obvious that the agent will have a token that is coming from the user, but that token needs to be narrowed down on the downstream services so that the downstream tools or the downstream targets will have that token to access securely to the downstream APIs. So I'm just going to walk you through the overall architecture, how this all works. Then I will go into the code examples, and then later I will do a short demo, which is very interesting. So in the architecture, as we know that all the clients will pass some context to the AgentCore Gateway, which is the body, which includes all the MCP parameters, as we all know, great. And at the same time, it also passes the header. So this is where the Gateway Request Interceptor comes. And the Gateway Request Interceptor will have access to the header information, which also includes the authorization token. So this also gives so much advantage to the developer, as that you can also do the token exchange at the interceptor level, or you can pass it to the downstream and then let the downstream targets do the token exchange and then get the new token to access to the downstream services. So that gives a huge advantage, and then allow the developers to build the end-to-end secure system. Also, there is another advantage where that you can also pass the custom headers as well. And that also means that you can also emit all kind of different context to your downstream targets as well.
By the way, when we talk about custom header, it's not just only about security headers, but think about like trace IDs, span IDs, right? Like think about like observability. Like if you want to pass on the same trace ID to the downstream APIs, how do you do that? Custom header propagation it is.
Exactly. That is so powerful because not everything is the MCP parameters. Yeah, we all work MCP parameters, agents that they indeterministically define, but there are certain things we want to pass to the downstream targets, which is exactly how Dawal mentioned, is the IDs or the certain hotel tracing IDs or etc. How do we propagate back to the targets, and then without the targets build something extra effort? So this is where the Gateway Interceptor comes. So I'm going to walk you through on the code very quickly. So this is you can also access this code in the GitHub.
Oh, I can see the code, by the way, if you're sharing the code.
Sorry for that. I'm just sharing the code. So this GitHub page you all can have access and then try it out. So this is how you create the interceptor, and this is I'm just specifically saying it is the request interceptor where you will get the header information, and you can do the many things with the token, but I specifically put the comment here as that you can do a token exchange. So this is not implemented explicitly here because there may be a bunch of different token exchange paradigms the client teams may have, but all it matters having a valid access token, valid JWT token, so that you can just talk with any kind of the downstream token services. Then you can get a new token and you can just pass it to your target, which is quite powerful. Go ahead,
so here in this Lambda handler, like you can write all of these token exchange protocol. He has not done it. Like Ozan, what you're saying is you haven't done actual token exchange, but what we're trying to show you here is this is the place, right? One of the places where you can do token exchange, either on the custom request interceptor, like Gateway Interceptor, the request level, or you can have Lambda target and you can do this token exchange at your Lambda target invocation before calling any downstream enterprise API. Right.
Exactly.
This is what
Exactly.
we are saying. Let's see the demo, Ozan.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
sure.
have a few minutes left, so we could
Sh-
definitely jump into the demo.
yeah, sure, sure. For the sake of the demo, I'm gonna use the quick suite, which is the. Let me just share the demo.
Quick Suite. Oh,
Yes.
wait.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly share what Quick Suite is.
Yeah.
So Amazon Quick Suite, it's a new service. It's a comprehensive generative AI powered business intelligence platform that makes it easy to analyze your enterprise data, analyze your private data. You can create visualizations. You have a nice little nice chat UI interface as well. It allows you different type of integration capabilities like automating workflows, collaborate across your organization. It's a suite. It's literally a set
It's
of
an agentic
services.
suite, and you can connect with MCPs. You can connect with the different backends, right? So you can do your research agents. So
Yeah.
we're going to do an episode on Quick Suite, so we'll park that.
Yeah, there is endless possibilities here.
Yeah.
But just
Yeah.
for the sake of demo, I'm just showing very like a narrow scope where I have an MCP server built by Gateway, and the Gateway will have an interceptor and the target, and I'm gonna access my Gateway through the Quick Suite. And the Quick Suite already does all the user authentication, and Quick Suite has the token, and Quick Suite will pass this token back to the target, which is
Okay.
quite powerful.
Let's
Yeah.
let's hit it with the prompt. I'm getting excited about
We
like
have a couple more minutes, so we'll just try to.
do the prompt.
Get your prompt. Yeah.
There you go. What's the prompt? What is it?
I'm just being very fast to just fit it into that time frame.
Oh, shopping info for
Yeah.
ordering. Okay. All right.
Exactly the same context Avinash was showing. This is all the shopping.
next.
So yeah, I created a shopping based MCP gateway, and then the AgentCore Gateway MCP server. Now I'm just asking this the status of my order. And
Ozan, can you maximize it? Can you zoom it a bit?
Oh, okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Now the Quick Suite understood my tool, and it says that okay, now I know your order name, and then it understands my order count. But behind the scene, it also knows who I am, and it will be passed to the downstream. So when I just clicked it, submit.
Okay. So what it is doing is actually invoking AgentCore Gateway MCP tool.
Yes.
And then your custom header propagation kicks in within the AgentCore Gateway, and then you're gonna doing the token exchange to call the downstream APIs like ServiceNow or any other like get order details APIs, and then you're issuing a new JWT token through the Gateway Interceptor Lambda, and then that's what is being actually sent to the downstream API, right?
Exactly how you articulated, and all those are available in GitHub. People can just pull and then see the code, but exactly how you articulated it.
Okay, awesome.
This could help many reps in terms of call center management or something like that. They need not go and recheck, quickly get the details, user details, and keep the things going in order to check their order status and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So before we wrap up, right? So any closing thoughts? Any closing comments?
Oh gosh, like I was just like I can't wait what this audience build with the Gateway Interceptor. So just folks like use it, see and implement it to kind of secure your agentic AI workloads.
More samples are coming in the Bedrock AgentCore samples. So definitely try it out. There are many use cases we all are covering about, and it all just started.
Do check out the code samples.
Yeah.
They're in the description below, right? So, and reInvent is coming up, so tune in to all the AWS channels, social media channels, to get all the updates. And if you're visiting reInvent, you can visit us at the developer launches out there. But with that said, thank you for joining another episode of AWS Show and Tell. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.